Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy. Your guest co-hosts, Narco Cop and Nolan Knows MMA, formerly the Parlay MMA. Today, we're going to talk about UFC 324, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. And my friends, it's going down this Saturday night live at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. The UFC is finally back. The wait is over. And Narco Cop, welcome back to Half the Battle, my friend.
Thanks for having me, my man. Can't wait, man. 6 weeks, Dan. We got the what do they call this? The itch. So we're back with a pay-per-view, actually back-to-back pay-per-views, or I don't want to call them numbered events. How about that? Numbered events. I don't recall the last time they had back-to-back numbered events.
Yeah, well, they're coming out with a bang for the new Paramount era. Nolan, welcome back to Half the Battle, my friend.
Appreciate it, man. I was just thinking like a week ago when we had a weekend with no fights. I can't believe that PFL or another organization doesn't just throw like 4 cards in this span just to get some viewership, get some people on the bandwagon. But man, it felt so dry over the last 6 weeks trying to find good fights to watch. So I'm super pumped, man.
I know we're not here to talk about the co-leader, but I found something really hilarious today. I'm sure y'all saw the news that Don Davis stepped down. My favorite part of that is that he put out a statement, and the last thing on his statement was a question saying, "What do you fight for?" And he put his comments on mute. So like, you couldn't reply to his question. But gentlemen, let's not waste any time. Let's get right down to business. Because in this main event, we got Justin Gaethje. He's 26-5, taking on Paddy the Baddy, who's 23-3. Currently, they got it. Paddy minus 225. The comeback on Justin Gaethje is plus 190. So Gaethje getting up there. He's 37. He's 6 years older, an inch taller at 5'11", but it's Paddy the Baddy who's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage at 73 inches of reach. So absolute banger of a matchup in the main event to kick off the first card of 2026. Look, I know that a lot of us want to see Ilia Topuria versus Paddy, or even Arman Tsarukyan in a championship setting, but this fight is fantastic. And speaking of Ilia, I gotta mention this. Every time we mention Ilia, we gotta say we 100% have Ilia's back on this one here at Half the Battle. But that being said, this is a really intriguing matchup. Narco Cop, a lot of people are calling Paddy a hype job. I mean, is he going to be a hype job with an interim title or a hype job with a very stiff lead leg?
Yeah, man, I kind of think it's going to be a hype job that's going to be an interim champion. I guess he's catching Gaethje at a very good time. Gaethje's 37 years old. Lots of wars, man. Lots of wars in MMA. The guy is probably in his 40s in fight years. He's taken a ton of damage. And the one thing that, we all know with Gaethje is, his kryptonite is kind of the floor, right? The ground. His jiu-jitsu is not great. His wrestling is obviously a good, but we saw in his last fight, even though Figueiredo caught some kicks, he was put in a reverse triangle in round 1 against a guy that's a Muay Thai striker. Just a very bad look, in my opinion. Obviously, he's the better striker here of the two, right? And he has that nasty calf kick that he could potentially use in this fight. But I do think people are underestimating Paddy's calf kicks. I think he has really, really good calf kicks himself. And we saw Michael Chandler actually have a lot of success against Justin Gaethje in round 1, landing those calf kicks. The other thing I do want to say about Paddy is he can switch stances, man. I think he can fight southpaw. And we saw Figueiredo landing these body kicks against Justin Gaethje, and he didn't like them. And Paddy does have very, very nasty body kicks as well. So for me, it's like, I do think the longer this fight goes, the more it's possibly going to favor Justin Gaethje, just because I do think he has the better cardio. We saw Paddy kind of look really, really bad in round 3 against Tony Ferguson. However, I think this guy's improving, man. I saw him last fight. He's utilizing the jab. He's utilizing his size against a guy like Michael Chandler who wants to get in the pocket. And we saw him against the, world-class level wrestler Michael Chandler. He took him down. I mean, he took him down. So there's nothing for me to say that he can't take Justin Gaethje down. You know, Justin Gaethje swings wild. You know, he tries to get those big shots in. And I think those are opportunities for Paddy Pimblett to potentially get the fight down. And I think once he gets it down, man, that's his world. He's a really, really good grappler. So I think Paddy Pimblett wins here. I think he finishes inside the distance, to be honest. So I like Paddy here. Trajectory going up, while the other trajectory for me is going down.
Yeah. Nolan, what do you think, man? Because obviously Paddy's made a lot of improvements, but now we're talking about UFC championship level. So what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much on the same page. I'm picking Paddy to win the fight. As far as the improvements, I mean, when he came into the UFC and he's fighting guys like Luigi and Rodrigo Vargas, and even against Jordan Levitt, like he was such a raw, almost, you know, a little bit green still, even though he had the Cage Warriors experience. But as he started fighting guys and getting the Jared Gordons, Tony Ferguson's under his belt, you know, it looked like he dialed in with a nutritionist. And then in the last couple of fights, he's looked massive and just thicker, fuller in there than he usually does. And he's starting to be a little bit more calm with the striking, a little bit more patient. And, you know, he knows when to grapple, and he's a damn good grappler too. So, you know, not that Justin Gaethje, everybody talks about his wrestling, and not that he's not a good grappler himself, but we've seen guys submit him before. We've seen him get taken down. And I think Paddy's he's going to use that jab, use the leg kick, and, you know, shoot quite a bit of takedowns himself, especially early in the fight. And like you said, once he gets it to the mat, I just think he's going to be a little bit too much for Gaethje. Gaethje's kind of a finished product. I think Paddy's still going to be making improvements between fights, and that's why I'm going Paddy.
You know what's interesting? We started off the show talking about PFL, and actually I think that's the right way to talk about Justin Gaethje, because he came up on the PFL scene before they were called PFL, back when they were called WSOF, World Series of Fighting. And one thing we always used to talk about is this guy gets rocked every single fight. This is even back then before he was in the UFC. Now he's in the UFC. And the fact that he's made that style work and he's kept a top 5 spot is pretty damn admirable. And I actually think that his style will age well as long as his durability holds up. What do I mean by that? He's not a very speed reliant guy. You know, we're going to talk about Michael Johnson later on the card, a former opponent of Justin Gaethje who does rely on his speed. With Gaethje, he's always had that power. We know power is the last thing to go. So I definitely think he's going to be able to dish out damage against a guy like Paddy Pimblett. Paddy does stand straight up in the air with that chin up, and I think he's going to eat a lot of calf kicks. The thing about it is he can give it, but can he take it too? Like I mentioned, he gets rocked every single fight dating back to pre-UFC. What's going to happen when he gets rocked here? And then furthermore, if he gets his back taken, the fight could be over shortly after. Yes, he's a former D1 wrestler, but he's a D1 wrestler with a white belt. So I'm going to actually complete the trifecta here, gentlemen, and I'm going to also take Paddy the Baddy to become the new UFC interim lightweight champion. Co-main event of the evening in the bantamweight division. We got Sean O'Malley. He's 18-3, taking on Song Yadong, who's 22, 8-1. Currently, they got it. Sean O'Malley minus 200. The comeback on Song Yadong is plus 170. O'Malley, 3 years older at 31, a few inches taller at 5'11", and a significant 5-inch reach advantage at 72 inches of reach. So this is an absolute banger in the bantamweight division. I love everything about this fight. You know, let's see if Sean O'Malley can bounce back. But I got to tell you something, gentlemen. I don't like the current form of Sean O'Malley. I understand it was just Merab twice, but what I don't like is you watch the first Merab fight, and for me, it was 50-45. But if you want to say 49-46 because of that front kick he landed in round 5, okay, I'll give you that. But you hear O'Malley in his camp talking about how he got robbed against Merab the first time, which to me is one of the biggest jokes I've ever heard in all my years watching the sport. So they kind of made it seem like, okay, we know exactly what we got to do in this rematch. He comes out there in the rematch and he just gets blown out the water in a way where, you know, it's one thing to lose to a guy like Merab, which there's absolutely no shame in. But to me, it's more so the timidity I saw from Sean O'Malley. I don't see that same confidence and swag that I'm used to. Now, you date back to the Aljamain fight where he won the title, and I got to thank him for knocking out Aljamain, but because, you know, the way that Aljamain won the title, I wasn't a fan of when you get knocked out and they call you the champion, you know. But what I'm trying to say here is that Go watch round 1 of Aljamain versus Sean O'Malley. Nothing happened in round 1, literally, to the point where in round 2, Aljamain gets desperate. He closes the distance. Aljamain ain't no striker, so one pull counter is all it took to put him down. Then he fights Cheeto in the rematch. And I mean, we can all look each other in the eye with a straight face and understand that Marlon Chito Vera is a walking punching bag. So I'm not going to discredit O'Malley's run, because if you can beat Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling, you are legit. But I just don't like what I've been hearing from Sean O'Malley talking about, if I lose this fight, I'm going to retire. Maybe I suck. I want guys not necessarily to think they're God's gift to fighting, because that's kind of when guys pull stunts, but at least like think you're the man. And it seems like, he's got other investments, which I don't blame. Dude, you hit the mountaintop. Once you hit the mountain, there's nowhere to go but down. And one thing I can confidently say about Song Yadong is not only has he paid his dues, gentlemen, but this guy can compete with the best of the best. I mean, he took multiple rounds off Corey Sandhagen. He took a round off the current champ, Peter Yan. So to me, it's not a question of if he's going to compete with O'Malley. It's a question of how many rounds can he win versus O'Malley. So a couple of weeks ago, it was plus 200. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I'm saying at plus 200, I had to put 1 unit on it. And I got to find out for myself if he's good enough to come out here and beat O'Malley. But one thing I do know, win, lose, or draw, I think he's going to compete with him. And I think he's got an edge on the mat. And I think leg kicks could be a big part. Obviously, I'm worried about, the distance with the straight punches, with that 5-inch reach disadvantage. That's obviously a cause for concern. But this is an MMA fight, and Song is the more experienced guy. He's the younger guy, and I think he's the hungrier guy. The only thing eluding him is that UFC title shot. So I know it's not going to be a very popular pick this week, but I'm actually going to come out here and pick the upset and take Song Yadong to upset Sean O'Malley, Nolan.
Isn't it wild that Song's 3 years younger than Sean O'Malley?
Allegedly.
I don't know if it's just yeah, exactly. But for O'Malley, I feel like this is going to be him coming in and looking like that Cheeto Vera form in their rematch in Miami, where he was just flawless and 50-45 them, badly, beat him, pillar to post, hurt him a couple of times, or he's going to be timid. He's going to have that Merab fight in his head. His confidence is going to be low. I don't really know what to expect, which is kind of leaving me in a weird place as far as betting something on this fight. For Song, I mean, I think we know what he's going to do. He's sharp everywhere. He's super, super fast. If I'm Song, I go to the wrestling right away and just test it. Because, O'Malley in his last fight against Merab, his whole training camp, he's looking to defend the grappling. He's drilling it over and over and over. And we kind of saw that, he couldn't really get his hands going. He didn't have the space to do so. I mean, the blueprint's there on how to beat this guy. I think Song's a decent enough wrestler to where he can win minutes. But, if he stays at space, I think Sean, if he gets in that flow state, I think Song could get caught looking a little bit flat-footed, just kind of waiting to see what happens. And, more often than not, I think on the feet, Sean O'Malley gets the better of him. Probably not knocking him out, but I think he's going to land some big shots. I think he's going to look a little prettier to the judges. I'm going to pick Sean O'Malley, but I'm not confident enough to be, putting him in a parlay or betting him at chalk or anything.
Okay. So Narco Cop, we need the tiebreaker here. I'm on Song, Nolan's on Sean. Who you got here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good fight. I think the line is a little bit too big, just because when you look at Yadong Song's body of work, I mean, he's faced the best of the best. And like you mentioned, against the champion, right? Like, it's 1-1 going into round 3. It's actually a close round up until like halfway through the round, when Yan just kind of pulls away, more experience, just kind of pulled away, and he grappled a little bit there, did Yan. And so those are things that obviously O'Malley's not going to be able to do against Song. And I kind of agree with Nolan. Like, Song needs to mix in that, not necessarily like start out just shooting, but just mix in the takedowns. Have O'Malley think about that. Yeah, it's possible that this guy's going to shoot on me and take me down, because quite frankly, like, this guy took down Peter Yan, like, he can take just about anybody down. He took down Corey Sandhagen a couple of times. So it's like, the guy can wrestle. He's explosive. He's very powerful on the feet. He's got a granite chin. And so when you have these attributes, I think, you could be there to win this fight. Now, I will say that Sean's, height, reach, technical aspect, his footwork, and the bigger cage is going to help him. Like if this was in the Apex, I would lean a lot heavier towards Yadong Song just because the distance can be closed easier. I think he can land takedowns easier. But at the end of the day, I don't think O'Malley is deserving of minus 200 against Yadong Song. I really don't, because I can match him up against guys like Corey Sandhagen, against Peter Yan, and he's very, very competitive against those guys. There's nothing to tell me that O'Malley should be minus 200. Yes, he's a better striker. Yes, he's longer. But Yadong Song has faced guys that are better strikers than Peter Yan and still made it very competitive, right? So for me, it's like, this is a close fight, man. And I think, O'Malley, yes, coming off 2 losses to a completely different fighter in Merab, who's a grappler, but O'Malley still got hit in that fight on the feet. Like Merab landed some very good shots last fight. So for me, it's like the money line's a little bit too big here. I'm going to go with the upset, honestly. I think Yadong Song is hungrier. I think Yadong Song has a little bit more tools in the toolbox for me. Like, I just think he can mix into grappling. I think he's the harder hit of the two, to be honest. I think he has more one-punch power than Sean O'Malley, and I think he has a little bit of a better chin than Sean O'Malley. O'Malley is very durable as well, but I do think Song is more durable than O'Malley.
Okay. Well, featured bout in the heavyweight division. We got Waldo Cortes Acosta, the streaking Waldo Cortes Acosta. He's 18-3, taking on the UFC KO King, Derrick the Black Beast Lewis, who's 29-12. Currently, they got it. Waldo minus 330. The comeback on Derrick the Black Beast is plus 270. So Derrick is 40, which makes him 6 years older, but he's an inch shorter at 6'3", but he's got an inch reach advantage at 79 inches of reach. So look, I get Waldo being favored, but like he was only like minus 150, I think, against Shamil Gaziev. Now, is this a market overcorrection, or is it, have they finally caught on to the fact that Cortes Acosta is coming into his own? He's paid dues, and he's looking like the real deal. I got to give him a lot of credit for this current run, but one thing I have to preface, and I must mention to the fans I have to battle, I can't call either of these guys' fights to save my life. So, Nolan, I'm going to need you to take this one first, my friend.
With Waldo Cortes Acosta, I took him in the fight against Ante Dalia and felt a little bit lucky walking out with a ticket on him there, just because, the eye poke, restarts, knockout, all of that. I faded him against Sergey Pavlovich, and then I faded him against Shamil because I didn't like flying across the globe to fight him on short notice, on like 2 days' notice. And he made me pay for that. I think Waldo is a guy with more UFC experience and MMA experience, has gotten better over time. I think his hands are really fast for heavyweight. And the one thing that people don't really give him too much credit for is his durability. I mean, talking about this fight specifically against a guy like Derrick Lewis, Waldo's been cracked before by big shots. He hangs in there. He rolls with shots really well. You get him up against the cage, he's going to be firing back. He doesn't just stand there and cover up or anything and look to get out of there. He'll plant his feet and throw some shots too. And of course, I mean, my problem with the price is that you're betting against a guy with big knockout power who can end the fight at any moment in Derrick Lewis. That's what I'd be worried about. However, I look at Derrick Lewis's last 3 wins, and it's Taliesin Teixeira. I think the jury's still out on him, to be honest. I mean, he just, in your debut, getting a guy like Derrick Lewis, live crowd, that's a tough one. And then Rodrigo Nascimento, I was at that fight. Rodrigo, after round 1, and even sometimes in round 1, slow starter, doesn't really do a whole lot in there. We just saw it in his PFL fight. And then Marcos Rogerio de Lima. I mean, those 3 guys, I know he rocks them, a couple of them, knocked a few out, but Waldo, I think, is on a different level than all of them combined. He's got a ton of momentum. He's, one of the most loved fighters of 2025 because of how often he fought. He's getting to be a bigger name in heavyweight. I think the UFC would love to see him get a dub here. I think he does win off of his movement, his volume, and his hand speed alone. I think he could knock out Derrick Lewis, but I think a sneaky play is Waldo by decision.
Okay.
And last thing I'll say is the UFC is going to Houston in like a month. I feel like they'd have Derrick Lewis on that card if they're wanting him to keep that trajectory going up. So
You know what's interesting about you saying that? So, number one, Derrick's history in Texas
It's bad.
is terrible. Number two, allegedly, he's the favorite fighter of the president of the United States. So if he wins this fight, you may see the Black Beast on the White House card. Narco Cop, how you see this one going down?
Yeah, you said something very funny. You can't get these two guys right for your life, and it's the same thing with me, dude. Like I just can't get these two guys right. Waldo, I've been a person fading this guy because I honestly didn't think he's very good. I played Spivak against him. I still think to this day that Spivak won that fight, and I kind of got screwed, but it is what it is. I played D'Elia against him. We saw what happened. That was unfortunate. And then I did play Gaethje against him, and that was a mistake. I thought the same thing, flying overseas, short notice. This can't be good. But Gaethje is so defensively irresponsible that he made it look easy, and props to him. And I do think the guy is probably improving a bit and stuff like that. But the thing is, like, Derrick Lewis is very, very dangerous on the feet. I know he took shots against Pavlovich. He did. But I've seen Waldo react badly to shots too. Like, go back and watch the Spivak fight. Like, at two different points in that fight, it looked like almost like he was going to quit. He's like covering up, running away. I'm like, what's this guy doing? Is he quitting? But, and we know Derrick Lewis, most knockouts in the UFC heavyweight division. This guy has huge, huge power. And, Waldo doesn't want to, yes, he can exchange with him, but if he eats a big shot from Derrick Lewis, I don't know if he's going to take it, to be honest. So it's like minus 330 is just, you were just a dog to Shamil Gaziev, right? Now you're a huge favorite against Derrick Lewis. It's just, to me, it's a market overreaction, to be honest. Like, I don't see much grappling upside. Derrick Lewis usually struggles against grapplers, right? Like, that's where he's very, very weak. Guys take him down. Rodrigo Nascimento fight that my man Nolan here mentioned, it's a bunch of grappling, like just basically took him down, ragdolled him on the ground. But somehow Derrick Lewis maintained his composure, found the knockout in round 3. So I don't think Acosta is going to have much grappling success here against Lewis if he's going to try to go there, because I do think he's actually tried to grapple before. Who is it? Robelas de Spain, where he tried to grapple. So, but Derrick Lewis' takedown defense is not terrible. I think his first layer defense is actually not that bad. He's pretty damn strong. He's not going to be easy to take down. So, yeah, man. I'm torn because I'm terrible with both these guys. Like you said, I'm actually really good with Cortes Acosta on props. I'm like up 7 units, but on his money line, I'm down 4.5 units. So it's like kind of like hard to predict with him. But Nolan mentioned something I like. I played, to be honest, it's one of my plays. I like fight goes the distance here, man. I really do. I think Cortes Acosta's got to mind his P's and Q's on the feet. He's not going to just be swinging wildly like it's Spivak or one of these guys, right? So he knows where Derrick Lewis is dangerous, and Derrick Lewis kind of at times will just sit there and follow you around and not do much, and time will tick, tick, tick. So, yeah, if I had to pick a winner here, I think it's Cortes Acosta just because of the big cage, the footwork, the volume, but I'm not playing minus 330.
Yeah, same. If I bet Gaziev as slight dog.
That's the thing. That's what's hard. Because I bet Gaziev as a slight dog, and now Lewis is plus 270.
And I bet Ante D'Elia. I thought we won.
Yeah, I thought we won too.
Then I thought it was a no contest.
I thought I won with Spivak, to be honest, and it was not to be.
Yeah, I thought Ante won. Then I thought it was a no contest. Then apparently we lost, so I can't call this guy's fights to save my life. And now that I'm going to pick him to win is, of course, the time he's going to get knocked out by a man who knocked out Alexander Volkov, had Francis Ngannou terrified to engage with him. And you said UFC heavyweight KO king. This is true, but he's the UFC KO king every single weight class. And y'all mentioned Waldo possibly mixing in takedowns, but Lewis has that that get up game that he just bench presses you off of him. So I don't know. What do the fans think? I'm going to pick Waldo because of the momentum. Do not take it to the bank is all I got to say, gentlemen. But yeah. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Natalia Silva. She's 19-5-1, taking on Rose Namajunas, who's 14-7. Currently, they got it Natalia minus 350. The comeback on Rose is plus 285. Rose is 33. Natalia is 28. Rose is 5'5". Natalia is 5'4". And both women have a 65-inch reach. Narco Cop, I'm going to grab some water. I'm going to let you take this one first, and then Nolan take it after him, okay?
Yeah. I'm not going to make a long breakdown here, honestly. I just think, Natalia Silva on the way up. UFC loves her, obviously. She has the looks. She's a really good fighter. She's skilled everywhere. Great footwork, great striking, very, very fast. And what's funny about Natalia Silva, when she came into the UFC against Jasmine, and you watch her tape, because she came off a 3-year layoff before she fought Jasmine, and you watch her tape, and her striking was god-awful on tape. And I'm like, man, this girl's striking is so bad. And then she comes into that Jasmine fight and looks like it was a completely different fighter fighting. I'm like, what the hell am I watching here? So apparently those 3 years, that's all this girl did was get better at MMA, get better at striking. And like, no one can beat her now. She's on like a long ass winning streak. And looked really good against Grasso. I don't know what Grasso's game plan was. I think her game plan was terrible, to be honest. Like just sitting on the outside, just taking shots. He did bite on the mouthpiece at one point in the second round and charged and started landing some shots on Silva. But I think her game plan was terrible. Yeah, it's like, man, Rose just, I don't know if she has the biggest heart. She's a skilled fighter. I think she's meeting her match here, like in Natalia Silva, just a little bit faster, a little bit better of a striker, better footwork. All the things that Rose was better at than most of her opponents, she's not better at in this fight. That's the problem here. So I think the only thing we could say she's probably better at is jiu-jitsu and grappling, but I don't think she's taken Silva down. Silva's really good with takedown defense. I think she's improved. And yeah, man, I think the line's a little bit too wide. I will say that, but I think Natalia Silva wins here. I think she wins by decision. Nolan,
the odds love Natalia. I love Natalia. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I like Natalia too. I was going to echo a lot of the same things that you guys believe as well, but emphasize the takedown defense for Natalia. I think that is going to be key for her here. Rose, obviously a phenomenal striker. Her footwork is really great, but Natalia's is very good too. I think she's going to be faster and hit a little bit harder. I think the kicks, especially to the body, are going to, give Rose some trouble. Just the last couple of fights for Rose, against Maverick had, great moments, and the striking was pretty even in that matchup. Aaron Blanchfield took over that fight in a big way come round 3. I know this is only a 3-rounder here against Natalia, but even against Tracy Cortes, she let Tracy back into that fight a little bit there at the end. I think Rose is starting to, I don't want to say slow down, but, towards the middle of and especially into fights, her opponents have been having some big moments. And Natalia Silva is the girl, if she gets out there to a hot start, I think she's going to win round 2 and round 3 at a high clip too. So, yeah, I'm going Silva.
Gentlemen, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I like everything about Natalia Silva. This is a girl that came into the UFC and already paid her dues. Had extensive experience outside the UFC against serious competition, and then comes in here against Jasmine. And I mean, to treat Jasmine in this fashion, that's a statement, in my opinion. Then you put her up against Teresa Bleda, and you made the most boring fighter anyone's ever seen exciting. You spinning back kick her in the face. I mean, come on now. Then you put her against Andrea Lee, and it's like, you might say to yourself, well, Andrea Lee loses every fight she's in. Actually, this is Victoria Leonardo, but we'll get to Andrea Lee in a second. But you might say to yourself, Andrea Lee loses every fight she's in. Yeah, but let me tell you this. She did a lot better against Macy Barber than she did against Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva beat the dog shit out of her. Against Viviane Araújo, probably the most competitive fight Natalia's had, and it was still dominant and clear for Natalia Silva. Then it's apparent we got to give you a step up in competition because, I mean, the way you're handling these girls. So let's give you 2 back-to-back former champions to land over 100 significant strikes against Jessica Andrade and eat her best shot, and then put an absolute clinic on Alexa Grasso, someone that only champions put a clinic against. You know what I mean? Like, okay, Natalia, if Valentina didn't just fight, it would be Valentina versus Natalia Silva, but Valentina needs some time off. No big deal. Let's raise Natalia Silva's profile a little bit more. Let's put her in against another former champion. And respect to Rose, because she knocked out Joanna. She knocked out Wiley. I mean, I can make all the comments I want about Pat Barry and all this shit, but the reality is, guys, Rose is a future Hall of Famer. Rose is a 2-time world champion. Rose is one of the best women's MMA fighters to ever live. And when Natalia Silva comes out here on Saturday night and puts an MMA clinic on Rose Namajunas, you're going to be looking at the clear-cut #1 contender in the UFC flyweight division. I'm going Natalia Silva to not just beat Rose Namajunas, but to do so in -350 fashion, boys. Now, before we move on to the next fight, I got to give a quick shout out to Home of Fight. All right, real quick. We went up over 130 units in the Home of Fight Picks Discord, and we're doing something crazy for the listeners of Half the Battle. We're giving you guys 30 days completely free. That gets you both UFC 324 and UFC 325 completely free. Just click the link in the description to join the Discord right now and check out this awesome community for the next couple weeks, and then crush these parlays with us in 2026. Link is in the description. I'm in this Discord. Nolan, who's on the show today, is one of the premier handicappers along with Hey Jive. So definitely take advantage of this free month on Home of Fight Picks Discord by clicking the link in the description. Now, Nolan, before we move on, anything you'd like to add to that? Because obviously I have the honor of having you here, you and Hey Jive. I mean, y'all went up over 100 combined last year, and that's something you don't often see.
Yeah, the audio's cut out for me on this side whenever you play the ad, but I get the gist of it. I've seen it before. But yeah, I think I went up 48 point something units last year, which was my best year in 3 years. I was right there at plus 30 units, plus 32 units a year before that. So it was a good year. I'm on a 9-week UFC win streak, I guess, however you want to say it. Haven't lost a card in 9 weeks. It's my best streak ever. So I was hot to end the year. And I was up 3 units in July and went on a crazy run to really push the profits forward. So yeah, sign up. We've been on a hot streak. Hey Jive, he's a beast too, especially with DFS. I don't know anybody better. So yeah, sign up.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Arnold Almighty Allen. He's 20-3, taking on Jean Silva, who's 16-3. Currently, they got it Gene Silva, not John Silva, Gene Silva. He's -245. The comeback on Arnie is +210. It's not often you see Arnie be the older man, but he is here. 3 years older at 32, an inch taller at 5'8", and an inch in reach. 70 inches of reach. So, Narco Cop, something that we've been noticing is the fighters that used to be the younger fighters, the Rose Namajunas, the Arnold Allens, the Justin Gaethjes, now they're the older fighters. Time flies so fast. You know Gene Silva's got to be super hungry to get back on track, but I've always been a fan of Arnold Allen's style from that southpaw stance. I love the fact that he has this lead calf kick that he does against orthodox opponents. That's something you don't often see. I think it's very unique to him. I like his hands. I like a lot about Arnold Allen, but as a longtime Arnold Allen supporter, I have to say, I truly believe he plateaued after the Max Holloway fight. Because that was like, he was on like an 8 or 9 fight win streak. It was like, okay, you beat the great Max Holloway and you're challenging Volkanovski for that belt. And after that fight, I mean, now he's getting rocked by jabs against Evloev, the Giga Chikadze fight. Are we convinced he won that fight? Okay, I'm kidding. He definitely won that fight, but like it was too close for comfort, man. And I don't see that emphasis, that umph. Look, I love the guy's style. I like how he's a pretty point fighter, but then in the last 10 seconds of rounds, he goes crazy. If he hurts you, he'll go full berserk mode. But this cat, Gene Silva, has got to be super hungry coming off his first UFC loss, Narco.
My favorite fighter in the UFC. I've been saying it since his Dana White Contender Series days. I said, this guy is going to be a champion in the featherweight division. And I still believe that. And I believe it's going to happen in 2026. You go back and watch the last fight against Diego Lopez, another very, young, hungry, very good fighter, a lot of power in his hands, right? And Gene Silva started in the absolute worst possible way you could start. A spinning kick, which is, okay, it's a bad fight IQ moment from him, but he lands into a full mount from Diego Lopez, one of the more dangerous guys, one of the most powerful guys in the division. And he's absolutely getting beat up for 3+ minutes in this mount, eating elbow after elbow after elbow, right? Eventually he gets out with, I think it was like a minute left. He gets out of the position and then starts putting it on Lopez in round 1, right? We come to round 2, and now he's starting to hurt Lopez on the feet. He hurts him a couple of times. And I think after he hurts him, he gets a little overzealous trying to go for the finish, and he just happens to land in a spinning. I'm not going to say it's lucky, because obviously Lopez timed it well. He landed it. Props to him. But I think, honestly, that fight, more often than not, Gene Silva is going to win that fight. And he just happened to land on that, spinning elbow, And so for me, it's like Gene Silva's timing in his striking is the best I've ever seen, man. Just the timing of his uppercuts, the timing of his shots, like he's just got great striking, the timing on his strikes. So, and a guy like Arnold Allen, technically he's the better striker. He's got the better footwork. He's the better striker, because Silva's a little bit awkward. He does these awkward movements. But I think he is hittable. And I think the other thing with Arnold Allen is, like, you go back and watch the Yusuf fight, right? He's on the back foot that entire fight, man. Like, Gene Silva is usually 99% on the front foot against everybody. So you're on the back foot against a guy like Gene Silva, you're in big trouble, man. You are in big trouble. And I do think that Gene Silva's chin is built different. Yes, he got knocked out. I mean, a spinning elbow, not many people can eat that. It was to the dome, to the temple. It rocked him. But even in this sequence against Hooker, where they're exchanging, Hooker rocked him pretty bad. And so for me, it's like, you say he plateaus. Yes, I think he's a good fighter. I do think he's a little bit overrated, to be honest. I mean, what's his best win? When you go back and look, what can we say his best win is? Yeah, maybe Cater, but Cater, it was an injury. I kind of put an asterisk next to that win. So I don't really see a great win. I see a win against Giga Chikadze, which is a close fight. And it's probably the ghost of Giga, So for me, it's John Silva's hungry. He finished, I think, 15 out of his 16 opponents. I know Arnold Allen's never been finished, but Arnold Allen is going to get finished come Saturday.
I love it. I will say, I mean, Arnie, I just want to see him back to that hunger he had when he was on that big win streak. But regarding the Cater fight, I thought he looked good even before the injury. I thought he was tuning Cater up. Obviously, the injury is unfortunate, but to me, injury or not, it was the ghost of Cater. It was Cater post taking a life-changing ass whooping against Max Holloway. Cater post getting a significant strike record set on his face. And we talk about this all the time on Half the Battle. When you get a significant strike record on your face, I don't care who you are, I'm fading you. Marvin Vettori, Giga Chikadze, Calvin Cater. When that happens to you, I mean, these guys have maybe won one fight combined, and that's Cater beating Chikadze. That's it. I mean, did Giga ever rebound from the Cater fight? If he did, it was maybe one. No, he didn't, right? He never rebounded. Marvin never rebounded from the Jared Cannonier significant strike record. Yeah, it's just one of those things. But anyways, I'm getting off track. Nolan, how you see this one going down, man?
I'm on the same exact page here, too. I think Gene Silva knocks out Arnold Allen. And, I think where Arnold's what he's gonna have to do if he wants a chance is to land big combinations and those blitzing, forward sequences he likes to move forward with. But Narco Cop mentioned it. Gene Silva is super accurate, but not only that, he's so fast. That 1-2 down the middle that he hit Melsik Bagdasaryan with was nasty. It's one of my favorite highlights to watch. Stands over him, asks the ref if he's going to stop it. Ref says no, and he goes on in and finish it. But Arnold Allen, we saw the highlight a minute ago on here. At the end of the Max Holloway fight, he started to blitz forward, throwing those big hooks, and he just gets countered badly and dropped down to a knee. I can see something like that happening. But like Narco Cop also mentioned, Gene Silva likes to be on the front foot 99% of the time, and it's hard to get away from him. And he hits so hard, and he mounts all this damage on his opponents. I think it's going to be a long night for Arnold Allen. I really do, and I think he's going to get knocked out. He's been in a lot of fights, and he's taken a little damage now. We saw him hurt against Evloev. We saw him hurt against Chikadze too. I think Gene Silva can put the lights out for the first time, and Arnold Allen might get that first knockout loss.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gene Silva. I just need Gene not to get in his own way.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Gene. He likes to have fun. Like in the fight with Bryce Mitchell, where, he feels no threat whatsoever by Bryce Mitchell. He looks at Mauricio Hoofy, and you remember Hoofy just came off the Bobby Green knockout, right? A spinning head kick. Gene Silva points to Mauricio. He's like, Mauricio's in the crowd sitting front row. He's like, Mauricio, look. And then he throws a spinning kick to Bryce Mitchell. And the thing about it is, Arnold Allen isn't a bum like Bryce Mitchell. Arnold Allen will be in the UFC this time next year, unlike Bryce Mitchell. But that being said, I think the big difference between the two as in Arnold and Gene, is the firepower of Gene. This could be competitive until Gene lands. The thing about it is, when Gene lands clean, you're going to see that big reaction from Arnold Allen. You're going to see that blood coming out of Arnold Allen's face. You're going to see a wobble. And like my two amazing guests mentioned, you may see for the first time, Arnold Allen might hit the deck. So I was going to say I'm not crazy about the price, but the price has come down a little bit. When I recorded my initial video on January 7th or something, and now it's January 21st. Well, it's a different price now. I believe it was like minus 350 then. Now it's 245. Now we're starting to get into a playable range. Now I might be interested. But ultimately, I just need Gene not to get in his own way. But the good news is he got in his own way his last fight. That means he's going to be locked in here, I hope, and he's going to be less likely to fuck around. And if that's the case, I mean, that being said, even if he does fuck around, Allen doesn't really have that firepower to really impact Gene Silva. The thing about Diego Lopez, he can't win minutes, he can't win decisions, but he can finish fights. Go ahead, Narco, please.
I want to mention one thing about, because I listened to an interview of it's very funny to hear, Charles Jourdain, right? It's in French, but I'm like translating it, right? And Charles Jourdain said, in my entire MMA career, I've never been hit harder by anybody, Gene Silva. And he said in that interview, he said, Gene Silva is the reason why I moved down to 135. That's exactly what he said. He made me move down after feeling that power. He's like, I want nothing to do with these guys anymore. So that's how powerful this guy is. And listen, Charles Jourdain is one of the toughest guys in the UFC. That guy does not cower to anybody. And if you watch that fight, he just wanted no part of the striking, absolutely nothing. Like, he was running away, all kinds of weird reactions. And that's how you know, man, Silva hits different, man. He hits different.
Yeah, and thank God for Gene, because as a result of him knocking out Charles, now I got to bet Charles at Pick'em against Victor Henry. Charles at less than minus 200 against a 40-year-old Davy Grant. So I really appreciate that, Gene. And Charles Jourdain might be a contender at 135. Keep your eyes out for him, because he's finally in the right weight class. I don't know if y'all remember, he made his debut in the UFC at 155 versus Des Green. Now he's at 35. So back to this fight. The firepower of Gene Silva is going to be the difference, and I see a more focused version of him coming in here. And this is coming from an Arnold Allen guy, but I was an Arnold Allen guy on his win streak. I still like his fighting style, but I haven't backed him at the betting window since the Max fight. So yeah, I think Gene gets back on track, my friends. Next up in the light heavyweight division, we got a crossroads fight between Nikita Krylov, he's 30-11, taking on Modestas Bukauskas, who's 19-6. A lot of actions coming on Krylov, because Bukauskas minus 145, Krylov 125. Bukauskas was like minus 190 a couple weeks ago. Krylov 33, Bukauskas 31, both men 6'3". Nikita's got an 1.5-inch reach advantage at 77.5 inches of reach. So I'm sure y'all got an opinion about this. I mean, I got an opinion about this. Who doesn't have an opinion about a Nikita Krylov fight? First of all, shout out Nikita Krylov, because he is the definition of a kill or be killed fighter. I mean, I believe this guy's only been a decision twice in his entire career. Won 2 decisions, lost 2 decisions. Let me pull up his record on the tail of the tape. Okay, 30-11. So 41 pro fights, my friends. And only 4 of those 40 plus pro fights have been the distance. That is what you call a kill or be killed fighter. But I have to mention, the times that Nikita got killed, it used to only be by submission. You can bring up the Soa Pulyaev fight, but if you do, please put context. And the context is that it was at heavyweight. Soa weighed 266 pounds. Nikita weighed 217 pounds. He didn't even get knocked out cold. It was a ground and pound stoppage due to accumulation and exhaustion. So Nikita had never been knocked out until he came back off a 2-year layoff, off a serious shoulder injury. And, you know, it's one thing to get knocked out by a heavy hitter like Dom Reyes, a heavy hitter like Bogdan Guskov. I don't hold that against Nikita. What I hold against Nikita is that he doesn't look the same. He looks slower. His blitz, his karate blitz, which he's known for, it just doesn't have that same umph it used to have. And I mean, I've seen this guy fight live. I saw him knock out Ed Herman in Atlanta, Georgia. I saw him choke out OSP in Atlanta, Georgia. I've bet this guy back against guys like Stanislav Nedkov, if anyone remembers that name. I've been betting this guy for a long time. I don't see the same guy. But luckily for him, he's up against kind of a mid fighter in Bukauskas, who I think is just okay. But I do have to give Bukauskas credit because he's come a long way. First UFC stint goes 1-3. And I mean, they're putting this guy in there with Jimmy the Brute Crew and Khalil Roundtree, you know, in only his second and third UFC fights. He just wasn't ready for that. Goes back to the regional scene, gets on the right supplements, comes back. Now he's won 6 of 7. He's growing into his frame. He's not 27 years old anymore. Now he's 31 years old, flat out in his prime. So if there's ever a time when Bukauskas could beat a guy like Krylov, it has to be now, because he sure as hell wouldn't have beat a prime Krylov. I can tell you that with a straight face. So I guess, Narco Cop, the question is, can this version of Bukauskas beat this version of Nikita Krylov?
Yeah, so, okay, we've been agreeing about everything on this show, so let's have a little bit of a disagreement, right? I agree with you that, you know, there's questions about Nikita's chin for sure. You know, coming off 2 knockout losses, you know, this guy is usually, he's been hurt in fights, but his recovery is really good. He tends to recover really well, you know, and may potentially get the fight to the ground to help him, you know, recover even more. What's been weird to me about Krylov, and that's going back just to this last fight against Guskov, is that he didn't even attempt a takedown against a guy like where is Guskov dangerous, right? He's dangerous on the feet. He's got big power. He's a good striker. He's you know, his timing is really good. Why do you go in there and try to strike with this guy the entire round? Like, not even attempt a takedown against a guy like Guskov. So that's 2 fights in a row now. He got knocked out against Reyes, right? He just kind of, I would attribute the Reyes one to maybe ring rust. You know, it's 2-year layoff, coming back and just kind of running into a punch there, right? So then you come and fight Guskov. This is where I kind of disagree with what you said. I think he actually looked good in that fight early. I think he was winning that round 1 up until he got caught. So my thing is here, it's like, this is a huge step down for me compared to who he's been fighting. While Modestas, this is a huge step up, right? So, and then also, like, we talked about these last 2 guys, and you mentioned it. These guys hit a lot harder than a guy like Modestas. Doesn't really have that one-punch power. You know, he's more of a volume guy. He's more of a technical guy, right? So I think, you know, the market's a little bit disrespectful here to Nikita Krylov being the dog, man. I think this is a little bit of recency bias. Yes, Modestas has looked better in his second stint, no doubt. I don't disagree there. But when you watch fights like Prachnio hurt him in that fight. Prachnio is a low-level fighter for me in that light heavyweight division. The Cutelaba fight, did he really win that Cutelaba fight?
No.
I think not. Exactly. I don't think he won that fight. So it's like, okay, he's beat Circaria. He's knocked out Prachnio, and he beat the ghost of Paul Craig with ground and pound. Like, I don't really rate those wins, man. And honestly, here's another one for you, Dan. I don't think he won the Pauga fight. Honestly, I think he lost that fight. So it's like he's fighting 50-50 with low-level fighters. He's beating low-level fighters. Fine, props to him. This is not a low-level fighter. If Krylov's chin is 70% of what it used to be, I think he wins this fight. So I don't think he needs 100% of that chin. I think he needs 70% of that chin against Modestas Bukauskas, and I think he wins this fight. So I think he's the much more dangerous fighter. I think he's the more experienced fighter, obviously, and I think he's faced a way better level of opposition. It's not even close. So, yeah, Krylov at plus money. Just I'm going to test out the waters. Yeah, and maybe his chin is completely gone. That's where I could be completely wrong. I don't know. But I will say one last thing before we leave. It's the 2-year layoff. He came back, got knocked out, and he accepted that fight against Guskov way too quick, in my opinion. Listen, go back to the drawing board, reset, and he said the minute the UFC called him, he just said yes. And he said that was a big mistake for me. That's why I took a lot more time to accept this next fight. That's what he said in the interview. So, I don't know. I like Krylov here. I think this is a huge step down for him. Yeah, I mean, plus money on this guy here in this spot. I can't not click this. I have to click it.
So Nolan, is his chin 70% of what it used to be?
It is. Look, for me, it doesn't matter here. It is seeing the odds the way they were earlier in the week. This is an automatic click on Nikita Krylov, and my biggest reason for that is the skill gap between their opponents. And like Narco Cop said, I mean, this is a major, major step up for Modestas Bukauskas and a step down for Krylov. And at plus money, that's all I need to really see to find out. Because at one point, man, Krylov, so many first-round finishes earlier in his career, absolute killer. Yes, he's looked a little slower, been knocked out 2 times in a row, but I don't really have many beefs with his losses. I mean, Reyes arguably beat John Jones. Paul Craig, he's a victim of a triangle choke back in Craig's day. Ankalaev, former champ. Glover Teixeira, former champ. Jan Blachowicz, former champ. I mean, those are his losses. And Guskov, of course, recently. If he comes out there and fights like he did in the fight against Volkan Oezdemir, I think that's the blueprint on how to beat him. Mix in the wrestling a little bit. I like that high kick, that little karate kick that Krylov throws. It's pretty fast. Maybe it's a little slower now, but I watched him land that against Oezdemir multiple times and hurt him with that. It kind of reminds me of the kick that Marcin Prachnio landed on Modestas Bukauskas. I think it was at the end of round 2 when they fought and had him wobbled really, really badly. My thing with Bukauskas is I think he's a fine fighter. His wins don't really – the opponents aren't really high-caliber guys. He just doesn't do a whole lot at times in there. There's a lot of times he's very low volume. I think he which fight was it? Where, it was somewhat of a close fight. His coaches kept getting on him. You got to do more. You got to do more. Might have been the Kudalaba fight where they thought he was down on the cards. But yeah, I think Krylov will at least march forward. He will land some big shots here and there, but I think he's going to be more active in there as far as the volume goes and just do it a little bit more to where if this goes to the judges' scorecards, I think Krylov gets it. But I also think he can, if he gets the fight to the mat, I think his jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. His back takes are good. And if he can get in that position, I think it's going to be a long night for Modestas.
Can I show y'all something?
Let's see it.
Can y'all see this? Hold on. Let me fix this a little bit. Can y'all see that, or is it too small?
Yeah, no, I can see it.
That's how far back I go with Nikita Krylov, okay? Look at these names. Nikita Krylov against Stanislav Nedkov. Nikita Krylov against Marcos Rogerio de Lima Pesao. Nikita Krylov against Francimar Barroso. Who? Nikita Krylov against Misha Sorkunov. Nikita Krylov against Oven St. Preux. Nikita Krylov against Alexander Gustafsson. So basically what I'm trying to say is that this guy's one of my favorite fighters. I love Nikita Krylov. How do I get rid of the screen share? Hold on a second. Oh, I did, right? We're good. We're good now, right?
You got rid of it. Yeah, but we're there you go.
There we go. There we go. Okay. I was gonna have to hit up my boy Meticulous. Listen, I agree. Modestas is mid. This is a step down in competition. I'm just not seeing that same Krylov. I know you said he looked good against Guskov, but I don't know if I agree with that. But also, I think Guskov's style is hands only. Like Guskov only throws hands. There's no kicks. There's no takedowns. So I don't know. It's like, can we expect Nikita not necessarily to come back to form, because possibly a diminished Nikita can still beat this guy? Like you see, people get a step down in competition in kind of a diminished state, and then they go out there and win. You see stuff like that all the time. It's just, has Bukauskas caught up to the current form of Krylov? I don't know. It's tough for me to call, but what I do think is that when I watched Nikita's last 2 fights live, I was like, wait, is that Nikita? I was like, that doesn't look like Nikita. The blitz doesn't look like Nikita. There's no takedown attempts like Nikita's known for. And you referenced the Volkan Oezdemir fight, which I'm glad you did, because that was a fantastic performance. But let me pull up when that fight was. That fight was in October 2022. Okay, so we're in 2026, gentlemen. That was almost 4 years ago. So that was almost half a decade ago, boys. To me, you're never going to see that version of Krylov ever again. That being said, am I going to lay chalk on Bukauskas? Probably not. Probably not, because I do think he lost to Iwan Kutalaba. Now, what's the name of the guy that head kicked him? Marcin Prachnio. To his credit, it was shin to chin. I know Marcin Prachnio is not good, but it was shin to chin. So I give him a pass. But you could say, well, what if Nikita lands shin to chin? You are correct. You are correct. I just don't see the speed with Nikita like it used to be, man. I just don't. I think he's slowed down tremendously. And although Bukauskas, I don't see him panning out in the top 15, but I think this might be the one fight he can win inside the rankings. And then after this, we're going to get a nice number to fade him his next fight. If he passes this test. I'm not even convinced he does, but I just can't with Nikita right now. Best of luck to y'all. I completely get the logic on the shot. I really do, because prime for prime, if you gave me this price on Nikita, I mean, come on, right? Like, come on. But it's not prime for prime. So for that reason alone, I am going to pick Bukauskas as a pure pick. May the best man win, gentlemen. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Umar Nurmagomedov. He's 19-1, taking on Deiveson Figueiredo, who's 25-5-1. Currently, they got it Umar minus 1,500. So that means some actions come in on Deiveson, because he was minus 2,000 a couple of weeks ago. The comeback on Deiveson is plus 850. My boy Davison's 38. Umar's 30. Umar's 3 inches taller at 5'8", an inch in reach at 69 inches of reach. So what do we do here, boys? Because I know people are thinking it's Umar by decision, but I low-key think that Mr. Nurmagomedov can take down Figueiredo, pass guard, take his back, get those hooks in, and sink in a Mata Leon rear naked choke. My official prediction, gentlemen, is going to be Umar Nurmagomedov to come out here and submit the legendary, the future Hall of Famer, Deiveson Figueiredo. What do you think, Nolan?
So about an hour before the show, I posted a video on all the social medias for an official play this weekend, and it was Umar Nurmagomedov to win by finish, because it's plus money. I mean, I was expecting, before I even looked at the line, I'm like, man, this is going to be minus 120, minus 130, but plus 125 as it sits right now is the number on that. And like you said, I think everybody's going to be thinking Umar is going to get another decision. It's a former champion in Figgy. And that's usually where people get bit in the ass by Vegas. They fall into that trap. They think he's a decision merchant. They're going to lay the chalk on it, and he's going to come out here and get a finish. And he needs one, quite frankly, if I'm being honest. I think, in order to get back to that title fight, he's got to have a big fight. It can't be these Mario Batista style of fights where, he wins convincingly, but, the crowd's not pleased. If he comes out and has a big performance on the first Paramount card, I think he's going to send a message to the UFC that, he wants back in a title fight. He wants to be in that picture. And I think rightfully so. However, Figgy, he hasn't looked very good. I mean, if people are laying that price on him and they want, big plus money, I can't really blame him. stranger things have happened in this sport, but I don't know. I just think he's a step slower, a little bit older, injury prone. I mean, Corey Sandhagen finished him. I think Umar is going to get into dominant positions in this fight, and I think submission opportunities or even ground and pound, something like that, those type of opportunities are going to arise.
I have a question for Mr. Lambo plays. Nurmagomedov inside the distance plus 120. Nurmagomedov by TKO plus 625. Nurmagomedov by submission plus 170. What does the props expert think?
Yeah, I mean, I truly think it's going to be sub, but I mean, I would rather play the plus 125 and save the 45 cents there. And honestly, I don't like how Figueiredo's looked, man. I know he beat Montel Jackson, but he used grappling in that fight. I think he got a couple of takedowns on Montel, and Montel slowed down big time in that fight. You look at I know he got injured against Sandhagen, but man, did he look bad in that fight. He did not look good in that fight. And I will say this. I was more impressed with Mario Batista in the loss than I ever been before with Mario Batista, just because of, I mean, the sheer like willingness to just keep getting up and keep coming forward against a guy like Umar. And I was very impressed with Umar's like cardio in that fight, man, because Mario Batista, not one time did he settle. Not one time did he settle in that fight. And he kept making Umar work over and over and over. And I don't think a guy like Figueiredo can do that. You know, I honestly think Mario Batista's grappling at this point in their career is better. His get-up game is better. And it's just like, is Figueiredo just going to hold guard when he gets taken down? Because he's getting taken down here. I can guarantee you that. And is he going to just hold guard? What is he going to do? Because I do think, like you guys mentioned, I think Umar I don't want to say need, but I want to say that he should look for a finish here because he's got a 38-year-old in front of him. He's the much better grappler. He's the better striker. He's faster. He's younger. We can go on and on and on. And he's a minus 1,500 favorite. Like, they don't, you know what? One thing that was said, the UFC wants to get rid of guys that are just sniffing all day. They don't want those guys anymore, right? It's literally out there. It's literally out there. What's the lady that announces all the time? How am I blinking? She's a great announcer. Who is it?
Oh, Laura Sanko?
Laura Sanko. She said it. She straight up said that the UFC no longer wants people that are not exciting. She tweeted that. She doesn't want people that are, the UFC doesn't want people that are not exciting anymore. So hopefully that puts a fire in a minus 1,500. He looks to finish here. Figueiredo's been finished before. I think he gets finished again. I agree. Plus 125. I think it's sub. Honestly, I really do. Just because even in Figueiredo's KO, like it was kind of a weird KO against Barcelos. I don't know what that was. I don't know if Barcelos didn't see the punch coming or what it was, but yeah, I think he finishes here. I truly do. He should finish, honestly. It would be a disappointment in my eyes, even in a dominant win, that if he doesn't finish here. So for me, I like Umar. I think Umar is going to get back up there and potentially win the title. I think he's going to win the title, in my opinion. So I love his game. I think he's a great fighter. Even in the Murat fight, I mean, if we look back, he was up 2-0, right? And he hurt his hand or broke his hand. He said, we don't know how true it is, but he looked good early, but he just faded against Murat. So yeah, I mean, I like him here. 3-round fight. He's going to dominate. I think he finishes. Someone's asking which round. I think round 2. I don't even think he gets to round 3.
Can someone tell me what the hell Montel Jackson's deal was that fight?
Just looking at it, just standing there looking.
I have no clue, dude. It was like a terrible, like that's why I'm not impressed with that win in a split decision.
I've been watching this sport a long time, and I pride myself on my knowledge and how I know the history of the sport. And I've never seen anything like that in all my years watching the sport. But I digress. Before we move on to the next fight, I got to give a quick shout out to my boy, Mr. Narco Cop. I want to let y'all know about the sharpest and most well-rounded sports betting Discord I've ever been a part of. I'm talking about Narco Cop's premium Discord. My friends, these guys won over 170 units in 2025 across all sports. Obviously, they specialize in UFC, but these guys are out here crushing in boxing, in bare knuckle, NFL, college football, college basketball, NHL, soccer, golf, tennis, MLB. But of course, the focus is combat sports. They have live betting on every single UFC card, and it's a community feel like no other. One thing I really like about Narco Cop's Discord is that there's zero egos involved. Narco Cop takes care of the UFC and the bare knuckle, but he's got individual handicappers for boxing, for hockey, and soccer who are absolute heavy hitters. I mean, his boxing handicapper is ridiculous. And I gotta tell y'all, bare knuckle boxing was a huge money winner in 2025. So my friends, I want to hook y'all up with 50% off your first month on Narco Cop's premium Discord. All you got to do is click the link in the description and enjoy 50% off the sharpest and most well-rounded sports betting Discord in the game today. Well, Narco Cop, I got you here right now. Any message for the fans regarding your Discord?
Yeah, man. Great shout out. I appreciate it, Dan. No, I just last year we crushed it. We do a live betting card every single UFC card. So basically I have a live channel. I get in there and we watch together and I say, hey, let's hit this spot right now. The odds are great. We do that. And we just absolutely crushed it last year. And BKFC, you mentioned one of my favorite sports to bet on. Been crushing it already to start this year. And you mentioned the other handicappers, the boxing handicapper, Noam. I mean, that guy has knowledge beyond belief, so you're in there. I appreciate you being in there, and you see it's a community at this point. Everybody gets along. There's no big egos in there, and yeah, appreciate the shout out. If you guys want to get in there, 50% off, use Dan's link, and let's make some money in 2026.
Yeah, and it's an honor to have you both on this show because these are my two favorite Discords in all of sports betting. So links are down below. Get yourselves hooked up, my friends. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Ateba Gautier, he's 9-1, taking on Andrey Pulyaev, who's 10-3. Currently, they got a Gautier, or Gautier, however you want to say it. He's minus 700. The comeback on Pulyaev is plus 525. Gautier is only 23. That's crazy. He's just a kid. Pulyaev's 28. Both men 6'4". But Gautier has a 2.5-inch reach advantage at 81 inches of reach. So, I mean, I can't recall the last time I've been this scared of. I can't recall the last time someone's opponents have been this terrified of a guy. And that's what we're talking about here with Ateba Gautier. I mean, the striking technique is on point, but when you combine technique with the brute force, physicality that this guy brings to the table, because I've seen plenty of technical strikers, but they're not built like this guy. And then I've seen plenty of guys built like this guy, but they don't have technical striking. You combine the two, and you're looking at an absolute force and a freak of nature. Now, I got to give Pulyaev some credit because I do think he's the best opponent that Gautier has ever fought. And I guess my big question here is there a chance that Mr. Pulyaev can last over a round and a half? He's a very durable guy. We saw that in the fight against Christian Leroy Duncan. He's long, he's lanky, he can run away, he can survive. But can he survive against this guy, Nolan? That's the big question.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as a 23-year-old kid, Ateba Gautier still got so much experience and, minutes in the octagon to get under his belt before I'm super confident playing him at this price. I mean, I would never actually play anybody at this price, but.
What about Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul?
That's one, but that's like, I don't even think there's been an MMA matchup of less, or of two guys that have been further apart in experience and skill level before. So, but
that's a different sport. I digress. Different sport.
Yeah, exactly. MMA is a little different. Anything can happen. But Ateba Gautier, as far as I can see, he's the goods. I mean, his striking is super powerful. I think his grappling defense with more experience is going to get really sharp and good because of how strong he is for the division and how athletic he is. If he really gets the technicalities and the grappling defense department down, this guy's going to be an absolute monster. I don't really know. I think Pulyaev, like you said, I think he's a very, very durable guy. Cardio doesn't seem terrible by any means. I just don't think he's skilled enough to go out there, even if he did, catch a second wind or he had more cardio than Ateba. I just don't think he's skilled enough to go out there and put him away for one. But ultimately, I don't care how durable you are when you're getting hit by a guy like Ateba. I just don't think it matters, man. I really don't.
Narco Cop. So on January 7th, when I recorded my initial video for this card, I asked the question, is it going to be over or under 1.5 rounds? Well, it sounds like someone listened to me because the over is only plus 185. When I was talking in those terms, Narco Cop, I was thinking, it's going to be plus 350, plus 450, because it's a foregone conclusion that Gautier is going to knock him out with the first punch, right? So now that I see that it's only plus 185 for that over, have they been listening to half the battle? Is this guy going to run away, or is it destiny and is fate going to conspire to give Gautier another first-round finish?
They might have been listening to half the battle because, Pulyaev, the way this guy fights, you watch that Christian Leroy Duncan, and he loves to circle and run, kick, circle and run. And I will say he's got like nasty body kicks, this guy. He's got really good body kicks out of the southpaw stance. He's very long. Let's give him that, 6'4" with a long reach. Good technical striker, right? But I agree he's pretty durable. But I don't care how damn durable you are, right? You're facing Gautier, and we used to say Medina is very, very durable on a time until he met Gautier and he went to sleep. So this guy's an absolute tank. I want to ask you guys one question. Maybe you guys know. How does this guy make 185?
Gautier or Pulyaev?
Gautier. He's next heavyweights, and he's bigger than him in training. And I'm like, how is this guy making 185, man? It's unbelievable. This guy's like 3% body fat or something. And he's just a powerhouse, man. He's a powerhouse. He's got huge power. He makes guys literally want to quit. Robert Valentin literally quit. After telling him, bring me more. And then when he hit him again, he's like, all right, I'm done. So, yeah, I think the way to beat this guy is grappling, man. Like, that the kid on Dana White's Contender, he showed that if there's one kink in the armor, it's the takedown defense, it's the get-up game, it's off his back. This guy's a white belt. Let's be honest. He's a white belt on the ground. And that's where he could have a lot of trouble, because when we go back to the Dana White's Contender Series fight, that Japanese guy, Niato, is a 170-pounder, right? And he was taking him down. He had him down on his back for almost 2 minutes in round one. It's a terrible look for Gautier, right? So he needs to shore up that part of his game if he wants to reach the highest level in the UFC, because you need to be well-rounded. You cannot just win with striking and brute force, because other guys are really way more technical than what you've been facing, and you're going to get taken down. And that's where, you're going to be lost. So, I like Ateba Gautier. He's 23 years old. He should be improving at a rapid rate here. And Pulyaev, yes, he's a good striker, but man, that's not how you beat Gautier. That's just not how you beat him. So it's a matter of, like what you said, is it going to be under 1.5 or is it going to be over 1.5? I'm not quite sure. I tend to lean a little bit on the overside because of the plus money and the fact that it's Pulyaev. And I know this guy runs away a lot. Like, go watch the Leroy Duncan. I mean, this guy's running sprints across the cage. So, yeah, I kind of feel like it might go over. But the scary thing is betting that against a guy like Gautier. It only takes one, man. It only takes one. So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised the money lines. It was 1,000. It's 700. People are actually betting Pulyaev in this spot. And I honestly don't get it. I really don't, because he's got no grappling to take down Gautier.
We got an interesting comment. Streamline Gaming said that Gautier said yesterday that he's not going to stay at 185 for very long because he's too big. So to your credit, I mean, he's going to have to go up to 205. And I feel bad for the 205ers when that time comes, because when that time does come, this guy's going to be even better. And he's only 23. Let's say, he hits 24, 25, he goes up to 205, and he's a brand new man. Yeah, everybody in the UFC, watch out. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually, 30 years old, he's going to go to heavyweight. They're all going to be screwed. Yeah. Good luck. You ever seen Ocean's 11? Classic movie. George Clooney, Brad Pitt. Remember when so George Clooney, he robs Buddy's bank, and they're both going after Julia Roberts. George Clooney used to date Julia Roberts, and I forget the name of the dude that owned the casino. But anyways, the dude that owned the casino was currently dating Julia Roberts. But anyways, when Buddy that owned the casino found out that it was George Clooney that was robbing him, and they got on the phone together, he's like, I got 2 words for you. Run and hide, asshole. Run and hide. And I mean, that's what I got to say to everyone that fights Pulyaev. Run and hide. Run and hide. That's it. Next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Alex Perez, he's 25-10, taking on Charles Johnson, who's 18-7. Currently, they got it. Charles Johnson minus 170. The comeback on Alex Perez is plus 145. So Charles is actually the older guy at 35. Alex is 33. But is he older in fight years? Charles 3 inches taller at 5'9". He's got a significant 4.5-inch reach advantage at 70 inches of reach. So Charles Johnson getting a little bit of a push. I mean, we're dealing with a guy that knocked out the current champion, Josh Van. We're dealing with a guy that knocked out top prospect, Lone Kavanaugh. And we're also dealing with a guy in Alex Perez who, we talk about guys who find a way to win. Well, this is a guy that finds a way to lose, and he does it consistently. And this is nothing new. We can talk about the UFC run, but this guy was getting subbed by like Jared Papazian outside the UFC. He loves to get tapped out. The thing that's sad about that is he's actually got good techniques, good calf kicks, good hands, a wrestling background, a nice front choke series. Like, as far as pure technique goes, Alex Perez isn't bad. But as we know, gentlemen, fighting isn't just about technique. It's about the mentality, the heart, the will to win, the fight IQ. And we all know that Alex Perez severely lacks that. So I actually took Charles Johnson straight. I played him to win a unit. And I really hope that he doesn't just get started in round 3. But I know that's the narrative going around. Guys, I think there's low-key a chance he might finish him in round 1. I think he can finish him in round 2 and round 3 too, of course. But I think that he might just come out here and put a clinic on Mr. Perez. But you got to watch out for the calf kicks. But at the same time, Alex loves finding a way to lose, and I believe that's exactly what's going to happen here, period, point blank. So, Narco Cop, I'm not going to waste any more time telling you why I'm betting Charles Johnson. I'm betting him here because I think he's going to find a way to win against a habitual loser and Alex Perez, who I think this is his last UFC fight.
Yeah, I'm done betting Alex Perez. I bet him last time against Asu. He was looking good. It was 1-1. Some people had it 2-0 him. And he gets hit with the head kick. He kind of blocks it. But then he fucking panics and puts himself right into a choke. And that's the story of this guy's career, panicking. I think he panics way too fast and just, I don't know if it's fight IQ, he doesn't think or what the deal is. But this just happens way too often for it to be like, oh, you know what? It's the other guy doing something really well. No. At this point, this guy's fight IQ is just, to me, it's panicking. He panics so quick and does something without thinking and then gets subbed over and over and over again. And, Charles Johnson, yes, he's a friend of mine. I talked to him, very nice guy. I do think he's a slow starter. It's just something in his mind. I've talked to him about it, and he said because he fought so many 5-round fights outside the UFC that he got accustomed to just kind of starting slow and just kind of revving up the engine later in fights. What's funny is the one fight that I've seen him live, right? It was a Sumadarji. I was there for that fight. It was the opposite, Charles Johnson. He wins round 1 and 2 and proceeds to lose round 3 to Madarji. And this guy's a guy that almost never loses round 3. He almost never loses it. So it was kind of weird to see. To me, he's on a 6-fight winning streak because Tamarov is a cheater and he won via whatever he was using, everything under the kitchen sink. And it's like, I do see Perez having some success with the grappling takedowns. The problem for me is like, I really don't think Perez is going to be able to like get the back, put the body triangle, things that Charles Johnson is kind of weak against is that body triangle and getting the back. Because if you get him down, Charles works back up. He's really good at working back up. He doesn't settle. You need to kind of get that body triangle on him, get his back. And that's the way of kind of holding him down. I just don't see that from Perez, you know? So maybe he has success early, Perez, per usual. I think he does usually have success early. But again, with the pressure that Charles brings, this guy's going to make a mistake. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to make a mistake. He's going to panic at some point, or maybe he gets hurt. And listen, I will not be surprised if Charles Johnson gets a front choke on this guy and subs him. Because if you remember, as at Maxim fight, go back and watch that fight. I don't know what Johnson was thinking, but he had Maxim sleeping on the feet and he let go of the choke. I don't know why he did that, but it looked like as at Maxim was going limp there and he let go of the choke. So I think this is a guy that will put himself in a front choke, and Johnson has long arms. He's got long arms and he's going to be able to probably choke him out. And he's quick to tap too, man. That's the other thing with Perez is like, he's tapping pretty damn quick when he's in these chokes. So I don't know, man. I just don't trust Perez at all anymore. I like Charles Johnson. I think it's Charles Johnson 2-3, quite frankly. That's how I see it. But you might be right. I mean, Perez is such a head case at this point. And you know what's another weird thing about Perez? He had one fight in 4 years. And all of a sudden, he's taking fight after fight after fight after fight. It's like, is he just want to check every week? Like, what's going on? What changed? What flipped that you want to fight every fucking month now? So he's got 4 fights in a matter of like a year and a half now. And prior to that, he had one fight in 4 years. So I think he's cashing out, like you said. I think this might be his last fight. He's just like, let me just get one more last check and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I bet Charles Johnson's straight for a reason on the money line. But to your credit about the Azat Maxim choke attempt, he also had a really nice front choke attempt in round 3 against Bukauskas, which I can look you both in the eye with a straight face and tell you he gets that choke attempt against Alex Perez, and the tap isn't going to come quick enough. Now, Nolan, before you go, I just want to say something that I've been hearing a lot about how Perez was up 2-0 against Asu, and then he blew the 3rd round. If you look at the judges' scorecards, not a single judge had it 2-0 for Alex Perez. In fact, I believe it was 1-1 on all 3 judges' scorecards, and then he blew it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nolan?
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing for me is, first of all, I think Charles Johnson is just more skilled at this point in their careers. I know he's older, but these guys have opposite career trajectories right now, where Charles Johnson is still going up, looking to finally break through to that, top of the division and get a title shot one day. And Alex Perez, is he 1-5 in his last 6, I believe? I think that's right. Either way, I mean, you look at outside of the cage, Alex Perez has his own business. He's been vocal about that, puts a lot of time into that type of thing. Whereas if you look at Charles Johnson on social media, Instagram, this guy is hungrier than any fighter you're going to find on social media, always talking about how he deserves the next shot and nobody's ever going to take, this opportunity away from him. And he's going to keep going until he gets the belt. Seems just way more motivated at this point too. I think that plays a big factor into the, in regards to if this fight, someone's in a bad position. I think Alex Perez is more likely to tap, give up, take that TKO, take the door to get out of there. Whereas I don't think Charles Johnson is going out unless you put the lights completely off for him. And I mean, Charles Johnson's power is really sneaky as well. I didn't see that Lonair Kavanaugh knockout coming, and I damn sure didn't see the Joshua Van knockout coming, but he smoked both of those guys. Lonair, I know, is a prospect, but he's a high-level fighter, and Joshua Van obviously is holding the belt right now. So I think Charles is he's up there as one of the better fighters in the division. Cardio's good, Muay Thai is good, and like Narco Cop said, his front chokes, he's got the arms for it, right? They're long. He can get under that chin. I think you could see something like that in this fight too. I do like Charles Johnson straight. I think -170 is a bit of a gift if you just compare where both these fighters are at right now. But Charles Johnson by finish it's intriguing me a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of the submission defense, if Alex Perez wants to come take my jiu-jitsu fundamentals class, it's Monday and Wednesday at Team Octopus. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Josh Hokit, he's 7-0, taking on Denzel Freeman, who's 7-1. Currently, they got a Josh Hokit minus 215. The comeback on Denzel is plus 185. So, wow, Freeman's quite a bit older, 6 years older at 34. Both men 6'1", and Denzel's got a nice little reach advantage at 77.5 inches of reach. So interesting fight because both these guys got wrestling backgrounds. Hokit, obviously a collegiate wrestling background, and Freeman more of like a Greco-Roman background. So, more upper body takedowns. Oftentimes when this is the case, you get wrestler versus wrestler, they come out here and they stand and bang. Now, my thing about their striking, I think that Hokit's the more aggressive guy, the more likely to walk you down and throw big. And Denzel, he kind of likes to, he's kind of has an aversion to danger and taking risks, but he's also pretty decent. Like, he's won some good fights outside the UFC, but I must say, the one fight he did lose against Isaiah Pinson. Have y'all seen Isaiah Pinson's most recent fight? Can someone tell me what the hell happened in Isaiah Pinson's most recent fight? Because Isaiah Pinson went full Isaac Dulgarian in his last fight, which you never do. Never go full Isaac Dulgarian. So for the fans that have to battle, please watch Isaiah Pinson's most recent fight and tell me what the hell happened in that fight. But I digress. Back to this matchup. Listen, it's interesting to see how it's going to play out. I'm going to give my breakdown last. Nolan, why don't you take this one first?
All right. It's not that I'm super confident on Denzel Freeman, especially. I don't know how you could be watching his debut, but it's just I'm not a big believer in Josh Hokit yet. It's not that I don't think he can be good or that he's not good right now. It's just he's fighting guys that don't have any business in there with him. If you're not a good striker, he's going to stand there and look to knock you out. If you have no grappling, he's going to take you down, rinse and repeat. I think Freeman at least has a little bit of skill in both areas. Obviously, in the wrestling department, he's a big guy. He's strong. He can get fights to the ground. But I think he's got a decent get-up game too, or at least he should. Against a guy like Josh Hokit, he's going to be a lot stronger. I think he's going to weigh, if I remember their last weigh-in weights, he should be, 20 pounds heavier than Josh Hokit here. And as far as the striking goes, I agree with you. Hokit is the one that would probably march forward and look for the big knockout shots. But I don't think he's very technical. And I think he's gotten away with finding the big knockout shots against some of these cans or lower level guys to where I don't know what Josh Hokit's going to look like past a round and a half if he doesn't find that finish or somebody's too durable or tough in there. Freeman's a former Marine. It seems to be a pretty tough guy. If he can get his game going and just hang in there through the first round and just get some offense going gradually, I think it's going to be a closer fight that kind of goes down to the wire. I don't really see Freeman knocking out Hokit. Maybe Hokit goes out there and knocks Freeman out, definitely possible. I don't know what the gas tank's like a Hokit. He's kind of a cocky guy. If he blows his load in the first looking for this big first-round KO, I think it gets very interesting. And if somehow Freeman can get a takedown on Hokit, I think he's good enough with the wrestling, and the size is going to be, a factor there too. I think he can rack up a little control time if Hokit gets back to his feet, rinse and repeat, and see what happens. So,
oh wow!
And it's not that I'm, like I said, it's not that I'm high on Freeman for picking him here. It's that I'm just going to fade Josh Hokit when he's over minus 200 every single time until he loses, because I think that loss is going to come in the next year or two.
Real quick, this is a guy that picked Martin Buday against Buchecha on my show, which was a massive upset not that long ago. So when Nolan says something like this, pay attention. But Narco Cop, I do have to say, Hokit's a real athlete. D1 or D2 wrestling? I don't remember. Do you know D1 or D2?
D1. All-American, two-time All-American D1.
D1.
Or was it San Diego, or where was he?
Fresno State.
Yeah.
But they lost the wrestling program like after 2021 or something. They no longer have the wrestling program. But yeah, he was a D1, two-time D1 All-American. Actually, he wrestled Bo Nickel. He lost, but he wrestled Bo Nickel.
So that's serious wrestling credentials. And then you talk about the kind of athlete he is on the practice squad of an NFL team. So while I get your concerns in terms of we haven't seen him get past that point, so obviously we don't know what it's like, at least he's not one of these obese heavyweights where it's like, if this guy goes past round 1, then for sure he's fucked. I think this guy is a good athlete. But then again, when you redline, it doesn't matter how good of an athlete you are. But Narco Cop, what I got to say about this is Denzel is not the kind of guy to take any unnecessary risks. And in his last fight, the reason it played out the way it did is because, you know, the other dude was terrified of him, whereas Hokit's going to go right after Freeman. So that's going to make it really interesting. How do you think Freeman reacts to that?
So here's the thing with this fight. I kind of actually went really deep on tape on this fight because I was kind of intrigued. I was looking at Freeman because I'm in the same room here with Nolan that I do think Hokit's a little bit overrated. I don't really like his striking. It's very janky. It's very wild. There's no really technical aspect in his striking. You know, he's just coming forward, throwing big overhands and looking to take you down, right? The issue I have with Freeman, and it's a couple of fights, okay? One, I have to state this too. I will always take a freestyle wrestler over a Greco-Roman for MMA. It's just more suitable for MMA, right? You want a freestyle wrestler. The body lock takedowns are not as easy. The single legs, the double legs work a lot better in MMA, right? That's one. Two, I saw Freeman getting taken down by Hugo Cunha last fight a couple of times with single legs. You know, both times single legs, or 2 fights ago. He got taken down with a single leg. Eventually, this Cunha guy just severely gassed. He stuffed the takedown and then finished him. Now, the one fight I want to compare Josh Hokit to, you have to go back to his amateur days. And I know, yes, it's amateur, you know, he doesn't have a lot of skill, Freeman. He's new to the amateur scene, but it's Johnny Eblen, another really good MMA wrestler, right? You go back and watch that fight, and listen, that's 10 years ago. But at 10 years ago, at 24 years old, Freeman was in his prime for Greco-Roman. He was thinking of going to the Olympics, right, as a Greco-Roman wrestler. He was in the Colorado training facility, right? He basically lived there, right? So even then, against Johnny Eblen landed like 10 takedowns on him there. Single legs, double legs, over and over, right? To credit to Freeman, he got up. He got up almost all the time, right? The problem for him here is I do think Hokit is actually nasty on top. He's got good ground and pound. He's got really good ground and pound. And the other issue I have with Freeman is you go back and watch the Pinson fight. This guy does not like getting hit, man. He's running away from Pinson, turning his back to Pinson. Just absolutely terrible looks for me. And so, like, he's low volume. The fights that he's won, like the Asplin fight, he's used the ground, you know, he's used the takedowns. He's not going to have that here, in my opinion. He's not the better MMA wrestler. He's not getting Josh Hokit down. I think Josh Hokit is going to get him down. So I like the Hokit side here, honestly. I think it's, you know, at first I honestly wanted to play Freeman, but looking back, the times that he's fought wrestlers, he's not really looked good, in my opinion. And for MMA, I'm going to take a freestyle wrestler any day over the Greco-Roman guy. So for me, it's like Josh Hokit. I think he potentially finishes here. And I know a lot of people that train with Freeman. I talk to them. You know, they know him out there in Colorado. I kind of like Josh Hokit here, man. I think he's potentially going to finish Freeman here early.
Yeah, I like Hokit as well. I just think he's the better athlete, and I think he's going to push the issue. I don't think it's going to be two fat guys staring at each other. I think it's going to be two decent guys, but one is significantly more athletic, more aggressive, and he's going to put on the exact kind of fight that the judges want to see, but there's a chance it doesn't hit the cards. But I do agree with Nolan in the sense that, yeah, we got to take a wait and see approach. And as he steps up in competition, we got to make mental notes of what he's looking like as, you know, as the competition increases and all that. But I do genuinely believe this is one he can get past. So for that reason, as a pure pick, I will also take Josh Hokit. So,
you know what I'm going to do when Josh Hokit gets his next fight booked?
Fade him.
I'm going to fade him.
Hey, real quick. Oh, no, I remember we talked about Buchecha and Kennedy. I was curious if this is a consistent trend or not, but it doesn't matter because that fight was a draw. So
yeah,
it was.
He had the finish there, man. Buchecha had the finish in round 2.
Man, we had it.
Punching.
At least we got our money back.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we talk about this next fight, I got to give a quick shout out to Bet105. Are you looking for a sports book that doesn't limit winners or play games when it's time to get paid? Then you need to check out my friends at Bet105.ag. Super high limits so you can get down whatever you want on any sport. And when it's time to get paid, no KYC, no stupid games, no stupid prizes. They're not going to ask you your whole life story just so you can cash out on bets that you won yourself. My friends, the UFC is finally back. So the good news is we get to bet on fights. The bad news is these judges who are already historically awful are going to be kind of rusty. We're back in Vegas, so you don't know what kind of tricks Adelaide Bird has up her sleeve, what kind of horrendous calls Ron McCarthy is going to do. So Bet105 are going to offer split decision insurance. If your fighter wins a split decision, no big deal. You get paid out. It is what it is. But your fighter loses that split decision. Bet105 are going to offer you 25% of your money back. Hey, that's better than nothing, especially considering the state of judging in modern day MMA. Also, we got the NFL playoffs plus the Super Bowl shortly after. So there's constantly going to be action on the board. So my friends, go to bet105.ag, use my promo code HalfTheBattle, deposit $100 and get a $50 free bet at bet105.ag using my promo code HalfTheBattle. Now let's get back to the show. Next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Michael Johnson. He's got a veteran record of 24-19, taking on Alexander Hernandez, who's 18-8. Currently, they got it. Alexander minus 150. The comeback on MJ is plus 130. So Michael Johnson getting up there. He's 39 years old. Alexander's 33. Michael, an inch taller at 5'10", and has an inch and a half reach advantage at 73.5 inches of reach. So very interesting. You know how we talked about in the main event breakdown how as long as Gaethje's durability holds up, he actually does have a style that's going to age kind of well because it's not speed reliant. He's a power guy, right? Like you remember Dan Henderson getting a title shot at like 45 years old against Bisping. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas Michael Johnson, you know, they used to call him Black Yao, you know, because like Manny Pacquiao, the guy's hands are so damn fast. You're talking about a guy in Michael Johnson who knocked out Dustin Poirier in a main event, who was the first man in UFC history to defeat Tony Ferguson, who beat Edson Barboza in a co-main event in Brazil. On Michael Johnson's best day, he can hang with the best of them. The issue is he kind of reminds me of this guy, Andre Fili, where like, he can beat anybody, he can lose to anybody. Point in case. This is the kind of guy in Michael Johnson that can knock out Dustin Poirier, but he can lose to Jamie Malarkey. This is the kind of guy in Michael Johnson that can beat a prime Tony Ferguson, but he can lose to Miles Jury. This is a guy in Michael Johnson that can beat Edson Barboza in Brazil, but then turn around and lose to Stevie Ray. So, yeah, he's hit and miss. He's hot and cold. But then you count him out. You saw what he did to Daniel Zellhuber. Now with Alexander Hernandez, he's on the best streak of his entire UFC career. Did y'all know that this is only his second win streak ever in the UFC? And his first one was when he made his debut against Beneil, parlayed that with a win against OAM. After that, guys, he never had a win streak ever again until now. But let me say this. I truly believe that Alexander Hernandez at any point in his career could have beaten Austin Harmless Hubbard. I believe at any point in his career, he could have beat Kurt Hollabaugh. But I do not believe that at any point in his career, he could have beaten Carlos Diego Ferreira. In fact, he beat a 40-year-old Carlos Diego Ferreira. I believe a prime Carlos Diego Ferreira, you know, the guy that was on the 7-fight win streak, the guy that derailed Mairbek Taisumov, that guy. I don't think Hernandez beats that guy, but he beat the 40-year-old version, and he also beat Chase Hooper, who was streaking. So on one hand, I can discredit the wins, gentlemen, but you know what I can't discredit? I can't discredit the confidence that comes with having a 4-fight win streak in the UFC, your first ever 4-fight win streak. And it seems like he's starting to get more confident. He's starting to come into his own. But one thing I want to say about his current style, you know, there is the confidence with the win streak, but the fighting style itself isn't very confident. He kind of runs away and counters. Don't get me wrong. It's working for him. but I don't think it's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be able to pull this off much longer. But he is catching MJ at a great time. I mean, Michael's next birthday, he turns 40. Speed's the first thing to go. But I don't know. It's tough for me because Hernandez is historically a flake, and Michael Johnson on his best day can beat anybody. So it's a tough one for me. What do you think, Narco?
Yeah, man. This is one that I look at and I see, MJ, 39 years old, looked good last fight. I have to give him credit. He looked good, beat a young Daniel Zellhuber, but I need to put an asterisk next to that win because how many times do you have to throw kicks before you stop throwing kicks? Like, what was Daniel Zellhuber's plan in this fight? Just to spam kicks from the outside over and over and over again? Yet Michael Johnson catching you while you're throwing these kicks and landing punches on you and then eventually drop them. It was just like the weirdest game plan. And we've seen Zellhuber completely shit the bed before, right? Like this guy, he shit the bed before. He shitted the bed again as a huge, albeit he was like a minus 800 favorite in that fight. And he looked awful, right? So I don't want to take away any credit from Michael Johnson there. He did what he had to do. He won the fight. But I don't even know what Zellhuber was doing in there, honestly. Like it was
Can I say something to your credit? Just because I don't want to forget it. Zellhuber was coming off a life-changing beating and war against Esteban Ribovics, where he may have came back too soon, Narco Cop.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Like, I know it was maybe, 6-7 months or whatever, but still, that fight was an absolute war. I mean, absolute war back and forth. So that could have been something. But do you remember the Trey Ogden fight where he completely shit
Do
the
I
bed?
remember when I laid minus 230 on Zellhuber? That fight? That fight? Yeah, I remember.
Oh, so you have it clear in that memory what he did to you that night, So, again, I don't want to take the win away from him. The win before that was a Zaitar. I don't really rate that win. I don't rate the Darius Flowers wins whatsoever, in which he had to actually grapple in that fight to win. He had to land takedowns against Flowers. The thing for me is, this is the thing with Hernandez. He's shown before that he can kind of flake out and give up and get really tired when the going gets tough. But the one thing I have to say is, at his previous stint now, at his current stint now at 155, he's looked a lot better, man. His cardio's looked a lot better. His striking has looked his fight IQ has been very, very good, man. Like, he knows who he needs to grapple in Hulabao to win the fight, and he knows who he needs not to grapple in Diego Ferreira and Hooper, right? So he's been doing all the right things. His cardio's looked really good. I think Michael Johnson has had a good run against low-level fighters, even Zellhuber fight. Like, I just don't know what Zellhuber was doing. So for me, it's like Alex Hernandez has looked good. Alex Hernandez has, is on this longest winning streak. He's the much younger guy, right? And I think he's in the right weight class at 55. I just don't like this guy at 45. It's too big of a weight cut for him. And the one thing I will say about Michael Johnson being 39, if you go through his Instagram, and I was looking through his Instagram, like, okay, cool. Boom. A heavy knee brace pops up on fight week on his left knee, which I don't like really seeing. I haven't seen that knee brace throughout like all his IG, through the last 6 weeks. And all of a sudden it popped up this week. Pretty heavy knee brace. I don't know the extent of injury. I'm not going to, that's not part of my capping in this fight. I'm just putting that out there as information for everybody. So for me, at the end of the day, I just think Alex is trajectory. When we talking about that, I think it's all up for Alex here. I think he's looking good. I think he has grappling in his back pocket here too. He could potentially, I know Michael Johnson, JUCO All-American wrestler, but he's 39, man.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
Correct. And once you get this guy flat on his back, he is not good whatsoever. And listen, Alex Hernandez doesn't have a lot of submissions, guys. He doesn't. He has 2 in his entire career, 0 in the UFC. He has 1 submission attempt in the UFC, right? But look at the names he's fighting. Look at all the black belts he has fought. Every single guy is a black belt he's fought. It's crazy. the amount of good grapplers he's fought outside of Austin Hubbard, who's a purple belt, and Mike Breeden, who's a brown belt. Everybody else has been a black belt in his last like 10 fights. It's crazy. So my thing is here, there's levels to the grappling and the jiu-jitsu, and I think these two guys are in different levels when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I don't think Michael Johnson's very good on the mat, especially when he's flat. And I think actually Alex Hernandez is very serviceable and a good grappler. So I like Hernandez here, man. I think he can KO Johnson. I think he's the more durable of the two. He's the younger of the two. You know, Nolan said there was a gift earlier in in Charles Johnson. I think this is a gift line at -150 on Hernandez.
Gift and Alexander Hernandez. This is either going to be one of the sharpest bets of the year and first event of the year, or you know how it could turn out. But man, I wish you luck on that. What do you think, Nolan?
Yeah, I don't have too much else to add other than I like Hernandez here as well, for the simple fact that both guys have a little bit of momentum. Johnson 3-fight win streak, Hernandez 4-fight win streak, but Johnson's wins. You look at the Darius Flowers wins. I don't think he looked phenomenal. It really had to go to the wrestling. Zellhuber, that's a good win on paper, but watching the fight, kind of like you guys mentioned, man, Zellhuber spammed the kicks, didn't let the hands go, seemed very timid, maybe because it was because of the war he had with Esteban Hevovic before that. And Ottman and Zaitar just don't really see his UFC level. I think both of these guys, are going to get hit by each other, but whose chin is going to last a little bit longer. At 155, I think Hernandez is probably a little bit more durable, being that he's 33 years old and that Michael Johnson, we've seen him flatlined. That one against Diego Ferreira was bad. I think if one guy gets knocked out here, it's probably the 39-year-old. His hands are still really, really fast for sure, but at some point, man, I can't see him going on a 4, 5, 6-fight win streak. And you got Hernandez here. It's kind of now or never for him, being that he's now 33. He's got a little momentum. He's got to get this win and go run with it. I think he's going to be motivated to do so. So I'm going Hernandez.
Yeah, I don't have a passionate take. I don't trust either of these guys, but one's almost 40, so I'm going to pick against them. Give me Alexander Hernandez, but to me, it's always like never Alexander Hernandez, but we'll see. We'll see, because, 40, I just can't. So, give me the young guy, but we will see. We will see, boys, because Hernandez, he has an affinity for dropping the ball. Maybe not to the Alex Perez extent, but I haven't forgotten about some of these other fights, So, and I was on Donald Cerrone back in the day, I think it was like plus 170 odds or something like that. Favorite bets of all time. But best of luck to you, Narco Cop, on Alex. Now, before we move on to the last two fights, I need the fans to do me a huge favor. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. When this is done, leave me a comment. And check this out. Once we hit 15K subscribers on Half the Battle, good friend of the show, Malcolm Wellmaker, is going to donate a poster from UFC 322 that's signed by the entire card. It's signed by Islam Makhachev, by JDM, by Carlos Prates, by Michael Morales, by Valentina Shevchenko, by Zhang Wei Li, by Malcolm, by his opponent, Ethan Ewing, like the whole card. If someone was on 322, they signed this poster, and one fan of Half the Battle is going to win that poster absolutely free. All you got to do is get me to 15K subscribers. Then, once y'all get me to 25K subscribers, I'm going to personally give out a piece of my memorabilia collection, one of my favorite pieces, which is a signed UFC glove by UFC Hall of Famer Michael Bisping. So y'all hook me up, and I'm going to hook up your memorabilia collection. So I sincerely appreciate y'all's support. Hook me up, and I'm going to hook y'all up. So thank y'all so much. Smash that like, hit the subscribe, and let's continue the show, my friends, because next up in the bantamweight division, and I'm glad they're not kicking off the Paramount era with this card. Thank God it's second on the card. We got Ricky Turcios. He's 12-5, taking on Cameron Smotherman, who's 12-6. Smotherman minus 180 in this day and age. Turcios plus 160. Turcios 4 years older at 32. Both men 5'9". Turcios 2-inch reach advantage of 71 inches of reach. Growing up, guys, my mother always told me, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. So, am I going to take the guy in Smotherman who got knocked out by Charlampos Gregorio and has no ground game or chin? Or am I going to take the guy in Ricky Turcios who makes weird sounds when he's fighting Ayman Zahabi? And when he's talking, he says, you know what I'm saying, every 2 seconds. I don't know, guys. So what do you think, Narco Cop?
This is a hard one for me, honestly. I wanted to play Turcios just because Smotherman's takedown defense is so bad. You got like Siri City, he's a Muay Thai striker. Yeah, he has a little bit of grappling, but my God, I mean, he made him look like a D1 wrestler, and that's the story of this guy's entire career. Honestly, you go back to Fury, and I watch a lot of Fury guys. This guy was taken down over and over and over again in Fury, right? The one thing I will say is he has resolve. He's still coming forward after you take him down a bunch. He's looking to finish the fight. He tried to finish it against Simone last fight. I mean, he will come after you. He tried to do it against City. He has third-round knockouts on Mondo Gutierrez's fight where he was absolutely getting ragdolled. I mean, he was getting ragdolled like you won't believe in that fight. Still came back and found the KO in round 3. So the one thing I will say is he is dangerous for 3 rounds. He's got good boxing. He's got good combinations. He has we'll give him all that. But his takedown defense is god-awful, man. It's just non-existent for a young, athletic guy like he is. I just don't get why you have such terrible takedown defense and why, frankly, he hasn't worked on it for so many years now. The other thing with Smotherman that I didn't want to hear is before he took that short notice fight where he won against Jake Hadley, and I was there for that fight, and I bet Smotherman as a plus 500 there, by the way. Before he took that fight, he had a fight scheduled for Fury, right? In a main event. I believe it was for a title. I don't remember if it was for a title or not. But he had a fight scheduled, and he took the short notice fight, right? And prior to that fight, he had said already on Instagram to all his friends and followers that this is my last fight in MMA. I'm going to retire.
Smotherman?
Smotherman, exactly. Yes. And then he got the short notice call for the UFC, took the fight, won the fight, and then reignited the fire, right? He went with Diego Lopez. He started training with Diego Lopez in Mexico. It reignited the fire. But yes, he was retiring, guys, from MMA. He already had said it before the fight, before the Fury fight that was scheduled. He said, this is my last fight. I'm retiring from MMA. And so it was kind of a big red flag for me. Even coming into the UFC, it was a big red flag for me, on short notice, flying from, the Middle East to fight Hadley. But I saw it at 135. I'm like, well, Hadley minus 800. Like, this guy is a bonehead to begin with. He doesn't fight smart. We've seen it before with him not fighting smart, So it's like I took a shot on Smotherman because I knew if it was just standing and they were just boxing, I knew he had a really good chance against Hadley because he's a good boxer. And sure enough, Hadley obliged. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to grapple. Let me just strike with this guy for 15 minutes. And he proceeds to win the fight. But then in the subsequent fights, these guys are using fight IQ, taking him down, and he just doesn't wrestling. So it's like Turcios is not the best wrestler, but he's relentless, right? He's relentless, and he'll continue to try to pursue takedowns and engage you and come forward. And I could see this guy Smotherman getting taken down and potentially even subbed by Turcios. I wouldn't put it out of the question, So, I mean, I really don't want to pick one here, Dan. This is one where I don't like both fighters. I hate Turcios, to be honest. But plus 160, he's the grappler. I guess he's the more experienced guy. I have to go on his side, honestly, because Smotherman is a one-trick pony, man. He's got no kicks. It's all hands, walking forward, flat-footed, right? You name it. Like, he does all the wrong things when you don't have good takedown defense. He's not even light on his feet. You know what I'm saying? It's like he can't bounce in and out.
Hey, you say you know what I'm saying. So it must be Turcios.
I have to go with Turcios. I have to at this price, but I don't have a bet currently, but I don't like what I see from Smotherman, man. I really don't. Nothing has improved.
Yeah, I don't like what I see from either of these guys. Nolan, do you?
No, I don't. And, I think I hate to even say it, but who would I rather trust in this situation? it's probably Ricky Turcios, and the little tiny slither of trust that I have, and it's just because he's going to go out there and he's going to try, right? Smotherman at times, it looks like he's just out there for a paycheck, or he's got some kind of mental block or something. Can't let the hands go. He's flat-footed, whereas Ricky's going to, claw and fight tooth and nail to, get into a position that he likes, or get the opponent to the ground, anything like that. So, yeah, as a dog, I mean, if you have to have a bet on this fight, which I kind of advise people not to, I think Turcios is probably the side. There's not many times I'll ever say that, but here, I think Turcios might just be the side.
Yeah, official prediction, double knockout. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Ty Miller, he's 6-0, taking on Adam Fugit, who's 10-7. Currently, they got it. Fugit minus 425. The comeback on Fugit is plus 355. So Fugit is 12 years older at 37, but an inch shorter at 6'1". For some reason, I thought he was 6'3", but apparently not. He's 6'1". And Miller has a half-inch reach advantage at 77.5 inches of reach. So, look, of course I'm going to pick against Fugit, but guess what? You know how many times I've picked against Fugit and gotten burned? I had what I thought was my top Japanese prospect, Japanese Connor. He got blown out the water. Then I said Josh Quinlan hits too hard for this guy. Nope, loses a decision. Then I'm thinking, well, Michael Morales is going to smoke him, not just in the first round, but under half a round. He takes Michael Morales to the third round. So, I don't know, man. The guy, Fugit, he's not good. He's chinny. He's old. He's slow. It's like now he's taking on a young stud who, in Fugit's defense, he's got more experience than this guy. He's more battle-tested. He's fought better competition. Even on his regionals, you remember when he knocked out Solomon Renfro after getting the dog shit beaten out of him? Damn, he's got some stuff. But Ty Miller reminds me of Tim Means a little bit. Long, lanky, really good hand fighting. His parrying game is good. That touch and go where he parries your shot and then throws straight punches down the pipe. Nice intercepting elbows, knees, kicks. I like his striking arsenal. Like I said, he reminds me of a young Tim Means. And of course, a kid like this who's only 6-0 and at his age, let me pull up the tail of the tape so I can check what that age was. Do you guys remember what the age is? My shit's freezing up right now.
For who? Sorry,
for Miller.
He's like 25, I believe.
Yeah, 25. He's a kid.
Yep.
So with a guy like this, he's not going to be exempt from taking a setback from time to time. But in this matchup, I think he's going to come out here and I think he's going to put a beating on. But I've said that many times and I've been proven wrong. So Narco Cop, is this another one of these times where I'm going to be I'm going to exit for 1 sec because my shit's freezing up, but just keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of my more confident guys here in Ty Miller. I kind of like what I see from this guy, honestly. Takedown defense, yes, he needs to improve it, but he's got a great get-up game, man. That's what I like about him. He doesn't settle. When his butt hits the ground, it's lava. Get back up. That's what he tells himself. And he's done that quite often. He's been taken down a bunch. Eric Nolan, actually, who's in the UFC currently, he fought Eric Nolan, and somehow that was a split decision. I had it 30-27 Miller. I have no idea how they saw that fight as a split, but he was taken down a couple of times there, kind of putting in bad positions, but immediately got back up, immediately worked back up. He has good submission defense. I like that. The other thing is Fugit looks so slow on the feet, glacially slow, man. Glacially slow lately.
Glacially slow. Okay.
Those kicks from him, I mean, they're good out of the southpaw, but they're so, and it's a guy like Miller who's light on his feet, very good combination boxing, right? An incredibly good 1-2 right down the pipe, right? So when you're fighting a southpaw, you want to have a great 2 right down the pipe. That's what you want to throw against southpaws. And he has that. He has a great 2. And I don't think Fugit's chin is good anymore. It's actually really bad, in my opinion. I know he survived Morales for a couple of rounds. He was hurt, blah, blah, blah. This guy doesn't look good to me. He looks very slow. He's not at fight ready anymore. He left to, I don't know where he's training. But I think he's somewhere in Arizona. I believe actually he might be with Red Hawk. He might be at actually Red Hawk with Sean O'Malley, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, man, 37 years old. Just not really good at anything, to be honest. Like his striking is very janky. He has no hands. It's mostly kicks. His wrestling game is not very good. It's mostly body lock takedowns. I don't think he has success versus this long guy in Miller. And even if he gets him down, I think Miller pops right back up. The only thing I'm afraid of, it's the UFC debut for Ty Miller. But from everything I've seen from this kid, he's very calm in the ring. He's very calm when he's put in bad positions on the mat. So for me, it looks like this guy has that mental game to him as well. So I don't think the stage is going to be too big for this guy. And the UFC has given him a very, very good fight, in my opinion. So I think he's going to knock out Fugit round 1, round 2. I don't know, round 3 maybe. He's gonna find a knockout here, in my opinion. What
do you think, Nolan?
Yeah, I agree. And the thing I was going to touch on is that, Ty Miller seems very, very composed, or at least he did on the Contender Series and his couple of fights before that. And Fugit, he just doesn't do anything spectacular that makes me want to take a shot at these dog odds. He's got the experience. That's about it. And, Adam Fugit, if he doesn't get his hands going and he relies on the kicks here, I mean, it's just not going to be good visuals to good optics to the judges if this thing goes long. But I also think Fugit is very, very hittable too. And Ty Miller, he racks up damage. He can rack up volumes. He's got a little bit of power too. And I just don't think Fugit is a big of a ground threat that it's going to make a big difference in this fight. While it's standing, I expect Ty Miller to put hands to face, do damage, rack it up. He gets taken down like Narco Cop said. I think he's going to be composed and get back to his feet. Rinse and repeat. I think he should get this win.
Now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. I'm going to go first so you all got time to prepare. So for me, my fight to watch is O'Malley and Yadong, man. I mean, like, first of all, this is going to be two strikers going at it, and there's been a lot of talk about the current form of O'Malley, where his mindset's at, and Song Yadong, he's done everything except fight for the title. I mean, he's been in there with like literally everybody, so this is his big chance, and this is a true crossroads fight because O'Malley loses this. Where does he go from here? And Song loses this. He may never get that title shot, but Song wins this, and all of a sudden, you're looking at possibly the next title challenger. So, yeah, for that reason, and also the fact that it's going to be a sick fight, that is my fight to watch. So, Narco Cop, what is your fight to watch?
Well, I mean, it's got to be Arnold Allen versus John Silva, just because is there ever been a fight of John Silva's that not the fight to watch? Because this guy brings it in every single fight. And I mean, he would be my fighter to watch, but I mean, he's already out there and everybody knows about this guy. So I think that's my fight to watch there. I think Silva is going to make it look really fun and exciting and potentially a highlight reel.
Nolan, what is the fight to watch, my friend?
Narco Cop stole my top fight to watch, so I got to go Tyler. No, I'm just kidding. I was going to say Ty Miller, Adam Fugit. But I'm going to go heavyweight division, man. Waldo, Cortes, Acosta, Derrick Lewis. You got a surging heavyweight and a knockout artist. What could go wrong? I think.
Now we got to ask, who is the fighter to watch? For me, my fighter to watch is Charles Johnson. Kid, you've been talking about how you're the best 5-round fighter in the UFC. You just haven't gotten that opportunity. You knocked out Josh Vann. You knocked out Lone Kavanaugh. If you go out there and beat Alex Perez in the fashion, which I think he's going to, now he's going to be in the conversation. Now he might get those 5-round fights. So all eyes are going to be on Charles Johnson because this is that opportunity. This is the perfect opponent, the platform, the stage. Dude, all the chips are in your favor. Go out there. You crush the grapes. Will you drink the wine? That's why he's my fighter to watch. So Charles Johnson, that's my fighter to watch. Narco Cop, who's yours?
Yeah, I'm going to actually go with Alexander Hernandez. 4-fight winning streak, looked the best in his career. Still relatively young at 33. It's not like he's past his prime. This is the guy that's surging at 155. He gets a win here. He probably might get a top 15 guy next, because of the winning streak. And, you never know, guys have came back from, we've seen Charles Oliveira, not look really good in the UFC and win the title. So I'm not saying Alex Hernandez can win the title. I'm saying that he has the skills to compete at the higher level. It's just about putting it all together. And I think that he's been putting it all together of late. So we'll see how he does here. This is against a little bit of a better striker than most of his recent opponents, just because Johnson has fast hands and he has some power. But I think Hernandez is a guy to watch going forward. Let's see how he does here against Michael Johnson.
Nolan, who is the fighter to watch? Is my boy frozen? Oh yeah, he froze.
Yeah, he's frozen. Yeah,
it's okay. We'll get him back in here. I wonder if who did he have the most passionate take on? I know he gave the hot take on Denzel Freeman, but I'm not sure if that's a fighter to watch. But
I think he said the gift on Johnson, but you took Johnson. So remember, he said it's a gift. This line was a gift. So I thought maybe.
Okay. So I'm gonna just speak for him. He's gonna take Charles Johnson as his fighter to watch too, because it's a giftable line. So, my friends, we did it. It's going down this Saturday night. The UFC is finally back. This is incredible. Narco Cop, thank you so much for your time. Nolan, thank you so much for yours. Y'all know where to follow my boys. And Narco Cop, you're on YouTube, you're on Twitter, you got the Discord. And off the first month by using my link. Any message for the fans before I get you out of there?
No, man, I can't wait for Saturday, UFC 324. Long time coming. I think this is our longest break we've ever had in a long time, 6 weeks. So I can't wait. It was nice chopping it up with you. Nice meeting Nolan. Great guy. Seems very sharp. Yeah, just follow me on Twitter. If you don't, on YouTube, Narco Cop MMA. I am going to release my new show today on my YouTube channel. So it's a full breakdown of the card. I will be releasing it shortly after this.
Street Smart Picks. Make sure y'all check it out, man. I mean, y'all heard him talk for 2 hours, so trust me, this show is going to be badass too, and I can't wait to check it out. And congratulations on all your success and the new show, and I can't wait to see it. To all the fans, you know, I can't thank you enough. Y'all helped me get to 10K subscribers last year. We're going to get to 25K. Like I said, once we get to 15K, one of y'all is going to get a UFC 322 poster signed by the entire card. Once you get me to 25K, one of y'all is getting a signed Michael Bisping UFC glove. So, yeah, that's it, man. I'm all about giving back to the fans that have to battle. My contest winners always get their prizes. I've been giving out tons of free signed memorabilia just because I'm grateful for all the support y'all have shown me, and it's the least that I can do. So thank you. Know that I am appreciative. I'm on Twitter at Best Fight Picks, on Instagram at Half the Battle Podcast, and on TikTok on Instagram at Half the Battle Pod, and on TikTok at Half the Battle Podcast. So you'll find me everywhere. And then I'm also on the audio, the iTunes, and all that. So huge shout out to the fans, but the biggest shout out to the fans, but another massive shout out that we can never forget is my boy Meticulous. These graphics, these highlight reels, just the way you've helped level up the show is something I'm always going to be grateful for, in addition to our friendship. So shout out Meticulous. And again, shout out to fans. Hope y'all enjoy the fights. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.